Hi everybody, today we are going to talk about the non-monotonic logic. This logic arises because of the lack of ways by the classic logic to deal with human reasoning, ambiguous or changing information, and uncertainty in the knowledge. Examples of this kind of information will be the words big, almost, possible, between other imprecise terms that we can represent in a classic logic. To illustrate a classic example where we can apply a non-monotonic approach will be the next case. There are three thieves that are suspected to be guilty about a robbery crime. Every one of them present evidence that they were not in the scene of crime, and they present evidence that they were not in the crime when it was committed. But the third one has the weaker evidence because the only testimony that he has is his words, and the other two have other people that can back up their evidence. So the judge decided to plead him guilty, but suddenly these thieves present other evidence that confirm to be true, so the previous deduction is invalidated. As we saw, the previous case couldn't be dealt with a classic logic because the classic logic supposes that every belief are always true no matter what happens after. So it is difficult to model problems like common sense, frame problems, and other control problems where decision can be taken based in new premises. If we want to define the non-monotonic logic in base of a classic logic, the main difference that they have is that the non-monotonic logic doesn't meet the next condition. As we see in the presentation, we have a set of well-formed forms, having that we have other premises that are contained in the well-formed forms. If the premises derives A, we can say that the well-formed forms also derives A. But in the case of non-monotonic logic, this condition is not always fulfilled. One example of a logic derived by a non-monotonic logic is the default logic. It was introduced by Raymond Rayner in 1980. Its main characteristic is that we can use certain premises in some cases and others for other cases. The formalization will be that we have a default theory that is formed by a set of premises and inference rule D. The D has the form that we can see in the presentation. There is A that is a premise, and B will be the formulas that have to meet in order to infer C. We will see an example in the next slide. We can say that almost every bird can fly, but there is an exception that this rule can be applied to ostrich. If we want to represent this example in the default logic, we can do it in the next way. We have a D, that is the inference rule. If X is a bird and the condition to be met is that it is not a ostrich, we can deduce that it can fly. We have a premises that define that Sally and Sam are birds, and Sally is a ostrich, but Sam it is not. So we can infer by the model that Sally can fly because it's an ostrich, as we defined it previously, and Sam it does fly because he meets the condition of not being an ostrich. If we see those two inferences that we generated by the model in the default logic, we can use it to infer other information. This property is called an extension of the default theory, and the logic admits any valid formula derived from any of these extensions. There are two types of default rules. The first one is when there is only a condition to be fulfilled, that is B in the normal case, and in semi-normal we have multiples sum of conditions that have to be met to infer or derive C. Other example of a non-monotonic logic would be the closed word assumption. It was defined by Rayleigh. Basically, this logic assumes that if we don't have any information of a certain thing that we want to know is a stage, we can say that it is false. This logic is used mostly in two cases. When we have a model where the information is known to be complete, and when the model have incomplete information, but we need to get information, we need to get an answer that is correct or definite answer. For example, we are going to see that if we have the following information in the table, we see that what book every person is reading, and if we want to know who has read the book 1, in closed word assumption, we assume the information in the table is complete. So if we don't have information, if Molly has read the book 1, we assume that he hasn't read the book 1. The formalization of the model will be the following. we have a model CWA where there are a T a formula or information that we generated by the model. For example, we have the T, that is a formula that for every x we can derive qx by having the value of px. For every x, if we have a p of x, it implies a q of x. Having the formula PA and RB with a set of information about PA, QA, RA, PB, QB, and RB by the model that we defined previously in CWA, we can infer that we have the formula T that will be for every x, Px implies Qx, and the information that we generated by this model that will be that we have not RA, not PB, and not QB. Not RA, we assume that value because we don't have any information of RA. Also, we don't have information of PB. We only have information of PA. So PB by CWA or closed word assumption, we have that PB is false, and the case of QB that is also false because we don't have information of QB, and the only information that we have about Q will be the QA. As we see, we have information of PA and the T that we defined previously have that every x, and for every x in P we can it implies a QX, but we don't have information of PB, so we can get information of QB, and for ends it is false. It is for ends this is false too.
Tautopistemic logic. Tautopistemic logic is another formalism closely related to default logic. We're going to show you a basic example. If I had an older brother, I would know about it. Since I don't, I believe not to have an older brother. An autopistemic theory consists of the beliefs of an agent, including her reflective beliefs about her beliefs. Autopistemic theory gamma should be stable if gamma should be closed under classical logic. If gamma defines phi, then phi belongs to gamma. And gamma should be introspectively adequate if phi belongs to gamma, then B phi belongs to gamma, and if phi not belongs to gamma, then no B phi belongs to gamma. Given gamma is consistent, stability implies that phi belongs to gamma if and only if B phi belongs to gamma, and phi not belongs to gamma if only if no B phi belongs to gamma. We're going to consider two types of consistent stable sets. 1. Gamma 1, for which brother belongs to gamma 1, and by introspection also B brother belongs to gamma 1. 2. Gamma 2, for which brother don't belongs to gamma 2, hence no B brother belongs to gamma 2, and by closure no brother belongs to gamma 2. Thus, by introspection also B no brother belongs to gamma 2.
Now we are going to talk about another application of a non-monotonic logic, circumscription. Circumscription is a powerful non-monotonic formalism created by John McCarthy in 1977 and 1980, generalized in 1984. Independently explored by many researchers. It is the most fascinating and the most controversial of all the formal approaches to non-monotonic reasoning. Extension. A predicate denoted by an expressant u will be called the extension of u. For example, if u equal bird, a unary constant predicate, and d equal all individuals, then the extension of u is a subset of d. Intuitively, d equal all birds. What is circumscription? Like we saw in the evolution of the CWA, the extension of the predicates became as small as possible. It led us to natural generalization. Consider form of entailment where the extension of a certain predicate is as small as possible. A simple example. Let T consist of one axiom. A circumscription of red in T will conclude. Circumscription of one T will conclude. We could also jointly circumscribe several predicates, say red on, for instance. Few circumscription types. 1. Predicate circumscription. 2. Formula circumscription. 3. Second-order circumscription. 4. Non-recursive circumscription. 5. Domain circumscription. 6. Another application of the non-monotonic logic is the justification-based truth-maintains. Dulles truth-maintains system, TMS, can be viewed as one of the first rigorous solutions to the problem of representation non-monotonic reasoning. In particular, it introduced the now familiar notion of non-monotonic justification, subsequently used in the following and model non-monotonic logic. The idea of the TMS was to keep track of the support of beliefs and to use the record to this support dependency when it's necessary to revise the belief. In a TMS, part of the support for a belief can consist in the absence of the other beliefs. This introduces to non-monotonicity. The TMS represents belief state by a structure called knots that the TMS label as either in or out of the current state. The TMS also records set of justification or reasons for each knot in the form of rules read as A without B gives C, means that the knot C should be in if each knot is the set A, is in, and each knot in the set B is out. The TMS then seek to construct labelings for the nodes from this justification. Labelings that satisfy two principles. Stability. A node is labeled in if one of its reasons is valid in the labeling. Expressed hypothesis A without B that match the labeling. Groundedness. Labeling provides each node labeled in with non-circular argument in terms of valid reasons. We saw that we have another application of a non-monotonic logic that we do not mention it before, like abduction, new interpretation for implication. Modal logic is used for modeling, reasoning about knowledge, action, times, or obligations. Deontologic logic formalizes normative modalities. Deontologic logic can be applied to representation of normative knowledge. Non-monotonic logic versus probability. Non-monotonic logic systems may miss the importance of probability. Probabilistic reasoners can also represent uncertainty and in a different probabilistic way. This system exhibits a different set of properties with which non-monotonic logic cannot effectively deal with. Non-monotonic versus classical logic. Non-monotonic logic does not have many essential properties of classic first-order logic, specifically semi-decidability. In classic logic, it is possible for a system to be stuck in an infinitive loop, trying to prove the negation of something for which there is insufficient information. In non-monotonic default logic, rather than return with not answer, the process returns with a wrong default answer. First-order logic, although descriptively universal, is not effectively a handler class of problems. If computers are going to handle common sense, we need to be able to have some form of default reasoning. Non-monotonic logic can be used in many domains where classic logic falls short, such as is the area of default diagnostic, actions, and temporal logic. This is the bibliography that we use in this presentation. And thanks for your attention.